Here we go, here we go, here we go. It's 8:02. Getting ready for the show. Hot dog. Here we go. Yay, we did it. It's absolutely perfect. It's almost as though we planned it that way. Yeah, I'm still getting slightly out of sync with Zoom to YouTube, but we're going to get there. Anyway, it is Thursday, and on Thursdays around 8 p.m. we do a live broadcast. It's a Q&A, conversation with Rick, one conversation at a time. And I'm really, really, really glad to hear and see everyone here. So my purpose and my subject this evening is pain. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this. We're going to talk about pain, all different kinds of pain. But before we do that, let me get started by sharing with you a little bit about this broadcast and what we're doing. This is a 12 section or 12 part conversation. Each one of these Thursday night broadcasts, which will last somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes, is on a particular subject. That subject is a standalone unto itself. However, there is an arc to it. So if you want to go back and start with the very first one, where we talked about anxiety, and the second one last week, where we talked about change and what causes us to procrastinate or be hesitant to change. And tonight we're talking about pain because with change comes sometimes some discomfort. Actually, I would say most of the time it comes with discomfort, no matter what that change is or whatever is occurred to facilitate that change. And sometimes we are the ones that facilitate the change, and we are prepared for the discomfort that can come with that. Let me give you a good example. This is the only time I'm going to use this. This was in my notes, and I kept coming across and going, do I say it? Do I not say it? Do I say it? Do I not say it? I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. From what I've been told, I clearly could never, ever experience is that the giving birth, women who in giving birth have said it was one of the most joyful pains they've ever had, physical pain that they associate with joy. But okay, I just said it, I got it out there, but only because somebody said that's really a good analogy, and I'm going, yeah, it's totally unrelatable to me. But nonetheless, I put it out there. So I can look forward to the hate mail. Speaking of hate mail, speaking of making comments, speaking of a Q&A, that means that you're to be involved as well. The idea is to be a dialogue. So I'm going to give you the phone number to send me a text. I will not be able to see it in the Zoom chat. Let me restate that. I will not see your questions in the Zoom chat. So the phone number that you text me your questions to is the phone number for tip hypnosis, transforming individual performance. And that is 407 490 5022. Okay. And if you didn't get that, that's okay. Just go to tiphypnosis.com. It's right there. It's in big gold letters. You can't freaking miss it. And you can text me anytime and bring in your thoughts and your ideas. But just to give it a parameter, so that we kind of know what we're talking about here, there's pain, first off, is not bad. Everybody associates pain with bad. The truth is, pain is a warning system. It's an alarm. It's a system within ourselves that says, hey, something isn't right, caution, watch what's going on here, pay attention, don't move me. I just, in my case, when I was playing football, I broke my collarbone. That hurt. That was pain. And when that occurred, it was like, don't use your arm right now. It's not connected right. That's what the pain was there for. It was giving me, it was setting off through my entire nervous system saying, hey, something isn't right. So when we have pain, whether it's physical or emotional pain, another one of the things that comes up periodically when we talk about, what it is that, people can endure pain, and that is to like being in an abusive relationship where you're constantly being minimized and there's, and people actually get used to that pain. stories of battered spouses. And I'm not just talking about women, being battered by men, although it was certainly the lion's share. But there's also been many scenarios, documented scenarios now, where women have been very, very abusive to men, not just emotionally, but physically as well. And consequently, whether it's physical abuse or emotional abuse, that pain is saying to you, you need to step away. You don't need to enable this or empower this to occur. It can't possibly, it's not good for you. There's something threatening you here. And that's what pain oftentimes is sending us that message that there's something threatening. It can also be, pain can also be associated with something really, really positive, not just, like I mentioned before, a birth of a child, but the point is that growing pains, we as adults, or those if we have adolescents, so on, going through puberty, all those kinds of things, the growing spurts, the growing pains, literally their bones growing, their muscles growing, and so on. That's, bringing in a new dynamic. It means that we're evolving. And so that's again a pain that can be good. There's also pain like when you're working out. You go to the gym, you work out, and your muscles are sore. That's a good pain. Physical therapy. I deal with a couple different athletes, collegiate athletes, and physical therapy and so on is a big part, and training is a big part of what they do. That obviously is not what I'm involved with. I'm involved with the keeping them healthy and equipped and keeping in the game from the neck up, not from the checkup from the neck up. Yeah, that's my realm. But the point is that no, physical. So there is pain is kind of gotten a bad rap, in my opinion. Pain is supposed to be there to send us signals, letting us know when something may be challenging us. And this can be another reason as to why it is people are resistant to change. So now you're going to see where I start. One thing's building off from the other. And that is that first off, we talked about anxiety. And anxiety has a direct correlation to fight and flight. And as you're matter of feeling safe, feeling secure, feeling as though you have what you need in life in order to keep moving forward. That those Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're at the very, very, very bottom. But nonetheless, that is what's being secured. And when that doesn't happen, that can cause a lot of pain. And we talked then about from that being going to anxiety, but then coming to change. What is one of the big reasons that people won't make a change? Is because they're afraid of the unknown or the fear or the pain of change. Because we talked about the RAS system, right? And the thing is, every time we go a little outside of our comfort zone, you get drawn back in again because it feels painful, and it may not be painful at all. That's the ironic part. It may not be painful in the least. And we talked about anxiety and pain and the way people view things and playing the what if game, and how every time you hear the words what if, that's automatically tells you that anxiety is in there. And now we're talking about pain, the discomfort of actually challenging ourselves and stepping outside of our comfort zone. Now, having said all that, before we go any further, let me just share this with you. If you have any questions or any thoughts or want to contribute to this conversation at all, I'm encouraging you to please do that by going ahead and texting us at 407 490 5022. And that is Tip Hypnosis's Transforming Individual Performance, Motivational Hypnosis, where my expertise is in really two predominant areas, which is I'm a certified grief counselor and I've dealt with folks that are dealing with hospice, dealing with transitions, dealing with those types of changes, and also with performance and oftentimes anxiety and performance or pain and performance and how that works together. That's the reason I work with athletes and helping them come either out of rehab or helping them step their game up. Some of the greatest athletes in the world have used clinical hypnotherapists as part of their regimen in getting ready for their season, or people that have, let's say, test anxiety and their fear of going into a test. And sometimes that can actually cause pain. They can actually become physically ill because of the anxiety and so on, and they will have those kinds of physical symptoms that occur. So we're raising, again, pain, it all links together, and why it is that when it comes to making transformations, when it comes to making changes, that's what this whole series is all about, is for you and anyone watching this, share it with as many people as possible. It's absolutely free. We're going to leave it up all the time on our Tip TV channel right here. You'll be able to see it, all 12 of the sections that we cover. What does it actually take, and why is it so difficult for human beings to make a change? But once they realize that the benefits outweigh the trouble, the anxiety, the trepidation, the unknown, which is what causes this type of fear and what causes this type of anxiety and causes these symptoms and causes pain, that the benefits will so outweigh it. Once we get to that point, then the transition goes very, very, very systematically and relatively easily. And you'll see that in the next upcoming weeks. So, getting back to our subject here today, specifically pain, and I just mentioned it just in that synopsis, was that people will actually become physically ill. And we talked about this with anxiety. Anxiety will make your blood pressure go up. Anxiety can cause you to become nauseous. Uh, the trepidation, the what plays in your mind, it can be so much more damaging, can have such a greater impact, cause so much more pain than any act could ever actually cause. Sometimes the what if game, or the pain of crossing a threshold, the pain of the thought of getting on an airplane, the pain of just of building a relationship with someone and making a commitment to someone, all of that trepidation can in fact cause pain. And so the Buddhist monks would say, all of our life is pain. All of this life is pain. I don't agree with that. I I really do think that the Dalai Lama and the Buddhists, have a lot of wisdom and a lot of things. But that's one thing. I mean, I get the theory, I understand the concept, but I'm just not ready to buy into the fact that this whole existence is that being the human experience is all pain. What I can say is this: pain is part of it, and transition, pain, unknown, pain, stepping out of your comfort zone, pain, growing pains, pain, relationships, yes, uh, death, loss, yes, pain is a part of our existence. It's part of our being. And it's there to give us signals, to let us know that this is a part of our life and it hurts right now, and we need to take a pause. We need to acknowledge it. It's not going to stop us, but we need to take a beat and figure out what it is that we're dealing with and what's causing that pain, and not ignore it. Do not ignore pain, please. If I don't get anything across in this whole message today, do not ignore pain. Having worked as a certified grief counselor for over 30 years, I've been certified. I've worked actually actively for about 17 of those 30 years in the funeral industry and working with families and so on at the time of a loss. And that the whole premise that if you don't acknowledge the pain or the loss or the grief at that time, and that's okay if you want to wait a little bit. Okay, a little bit. I didn't say like wait forever, like a little bit, because it will come around. There's no avoiding it. It will come up, and the acknowledging it of the loss and the loss in your life and the change in your life and the irrevocable change that a death can occur to someone that you care very much about, or a change in a relationship. That is a very real thing. So please do not ignore pain when it shows itself, and don't get used to pain. Don't minimize it to where in personal lives and in relationships, I've seen this, and I'm sure you have as well. You've seen where people become, for lack of a better word, such a people pleaser, they become like a doormat. And having done that for so long, they don't even recognize that they're actually in pain, or become so immune to pain that they actually have an adverse response, and they actually put pain and pleasure together, or that it validates them. This is where I'm talking about where people have real issues with depression, anxiety, and so on, where you hear things like cutting and so on. They just need to feel a sensation. This is not good. There is nothing ever good about that. It can never be justified. It can never be explained away. Anybody ever tells you that's good, that's pain. Step away. Okay, that's a big warning sign. So those are my thoughts and so on pain. But let's go and see. We've got a couple of questions here, and I'm flipping it on here, the phone, to see what we've got here. Yes, we do. Okay, Miss Miranda. Thank you very much. What's your question here? Ah, okay, yes. Miranda's asking about when a relationship is coming to an end and you're having that kind of gut-wrenching pain, that pain that's just so overwhelming that now you're depressed, you don't feel like you want to get out of bed, so on and so on, because there's a relationship you had for a very long time has come to an end. A romantic relationship is what I'm assuming based the way that she's phrasing this. Okay, that's grief. That's a real pain. And that pain, depending upon how you interpret it, and everybody interprets pain and everybody interprets rejection, betrayal, and so on in a different light. So there is no one way or one thing fits all, but the pain that you're experiencing can, it needs to be recognized. B, it can be really devastating because different than, let's say, a death, a grief from a death, a member of family member, a close loved one, or whatever the circumstance was, where you would feel a lot of pain because of a death. You know that chances are that person wasn't really wanting to go at that time. You know that they loved you and so on and so on. There wasn't it. A lot of times when there's a relationship breakup, there's also other emotions, trust, betrayal, um, a real sense of being rejected. Um, that's a whole nother story. That kind of pain is grief, and it is a matter of being able to sit down and talk with somebody. Now, does it always have to be a professional? I'm not here just to try and pitch my stuff and say, "Oh, you got to call me. I'm the savior." That's not it. I really have a real problem with people that do that. Oh, you got a problem, call me. I want to be available to you. If I can help you, if you need some help, I want you to know that I'm more than happy to speak with you. As a matter of fact, I love hearing other people's stories. I do not love hearing about people being in pain. Don't misconstrue that. What I do is but I do and want to hear people's stories. I find it fascinating. There's no two people in the world the same, and there is no two stories the same, and the way people process pain and so on is different. My point is, a pain like that from betrayal, a trust that was broken, one person taking advantage of another one economically, a lot of times, the impact of maybe if it's divorce, children, things like that. There's a lot there. The dynamic is huge. So that oftentimes, quite frankly, will take years. It'll take 2 to 3 years to be able to resolve. And as long as we're on that, let me just say this, since I brought up, the loss of someone by death, that also takes like 2 or 3 years. As a matter of fact, the first year is like, we call it kind of the numbing year. The first year is like you're just getting through stuff. It's the first this, the first that. The second year is you're on your second one. Okay, it's the second Christmas, it's the second birthday, it's the second this. The third one is the realization that your life has truly changed and there's no ever putting it back. And so for that reason, that arc tends to go for several months. But the thing is, when it comes to a loss and a betrayal and so on, there's other elements that come into play. There's your ability to learn and understand trust and how this came about and what it was within yourself that was drawn to that type of person and how it is that you're maybe blindsided and not able to understand or see when it was coming at you, or didn't want to see it, or so engrossed in your own life that you didn't see it coming. There's a lot of different elements that could go on there. And so consequently, when it comes to that type of pain, it's certainly an emotional pain. And it's very, very sincere and legitimate emotional pain. It can actually hurt worse than maybe anything else. You'd rather have a broken leg, because at least a broken leg has a finite period of time and that's going to heal. But when it comes to a real emotional jolt like that, you can. So what I will say is this: when people ask me, do I'm offering to help? Of course, I offer to help. But for some people, talking to their friends and so on is enough. Not everybody needs professional help all the time. What is the difference between professional help and talking to your friends and so on? Chances are your friends are going to kind of be empathetic and going to kind of nurture you along in this whole thing and really be biased and may or may not give you any real insight because they want to appear to be your friend. And that makes perfect sense. On the other hand, what I'm also going to say to you is that having a chance to speak with somebody who's not personally involved, but rather is professional and being able to help you and giving you specific techniques, the advantage being you're going to get through it, but do you want to get, the length of time and understanding what you're actually going through and why you're going through it and the steps and so on to try and help you get through it. So there was that. I kind of took off a little bit on Miranda's question. I apologize, but I want to let you know that there's a lot of different elements to this. So I guess, and by the way, you can give me a call anytime. I do, everybody gets a free 30-minute consultation with me. And if you don't know it already, then if I'm not a good fit for you, or I can't really help you, or maybe you don't really need professional help. But if you do, then it's like, fine. If I can't help you or I'm not a good fit for it, I've been in this business for a very, very long time, and I will know someone who can, who'll be more than willing to be a good fit for you. So by all means, give me a call. What else we got here? Let me take a quick look here at other types of pain that people go through. Oh, family issues, family pain. Okay. Family pain is another really, really, really huge thing. And that's it. Um, families can cause a tremendous amount of pain. And recently you've been hearing a lot about people stepping back from families and having no contact with families because they actually do better without having contact with families. Yes. Okay, that's the answer. Yes. Sometimes, yes, sometimes that's appropriate. Yes, families can cause a lot of pain. Families, when you have an entire history with somebody, they also have your go no go buttons. They know how to push them. They can bring you back in within your mind and the critical, that they're part of your mind that's always criticizing you, right? That's always being critical of everything you do. Sometimes families who are unhealthy in the way that they represent themselves are always criticizing. And sometimes they even try and present as like constructive criticism. Yeah, bullshit. It's criticizing. Um, and in doing so, they're also bringing up maybe a lot of like stories, childhood stories, things like that, but not in a way that's enjoyable for everybody to recall or to have, but it's meant to embarrass somebody or to always keep someone in a certain position in the family and that type of thing. So yeah, families can cause a lot of damage, but families can also be hugely supportive. So you have to decide that. we go back to where we started this whole conversation a few minutes ago, and that is that pain is part of our lives. Pain is a communication system. It's a warning system. And it is part, and it is sometimes pain is facilitated by you because you're looking to make a change, which means you're going to go outside of your comfort zone, which means you may have a little bit of anxiety, which means you may feel a little bit uncomfortable, and you're going to hold yourself on that out in that lane. You're not going to let your self-sabotaging self merge back in again. And you're going to, and the go all that goes with it. So pain is part of it, and pain is growth, and families can be really cruel at times, but families can also be very, very supportive. So it just depends upon the pain or the healing. Sometimes there's a healing that needs to take place in a family. Sometimes you have to rip off the band-aid. It's kind of a wide subject, so we're just going to let it be what it is, which is that pain is a part of life. Pain is a communication system. Pain is not is it's the sensation is what it is. It's a neurological sensation. You know, your nerve endings is causing the pain, right? Or if it's an emotional thing, then it's going to be part of your your emotional system is going to turn around your amygdala and so on, and all of that is going to like cause this pain, and it's going to throw off your entire system, and you're just not going to feel right, and you're going to feel off, you're going to feel headachy and so on. That's physical manifestations of emotion, like blood pressure going up if you're anxious. Um, but when it comes to these things, they're basically benign. It's how you interpret them and the weight that you put to them that will ultimately determine how readily you're able to get through the pain to get to the reward or to get to the other side, which is what I always advocate for. So when I'm dealing with folks and clients, because I'm transforming individual performance, I'm helping people manifest their future. It's really what it comes down to. They're transforming. They're from wherever they're at now, whatever the pain is now, we're going to be transforming that you as an individual. I'm not doing it for groups. I'm doing it for you, whoever my client is, for that individual, their performance, their life, their from that point forward. So it's a form of manifestation. And the same thing with pain is it's here's where you're at today, and that pain is on a 1 to 10 scale, whether it's physical, emotional, or a combination of both. And we're going to transition, transform, and go through that pain to get to the other side to where it's all going to be much, much more pleasant for you. And that's what we're doing with that. So I hope I've had a chance. I hope I explained pain a little bit better to you and have a little bit more of an insight, understanding it is it's not something to necessarily want to jump into, but it's something we know that's part of life. We understand that it's part of our growth. We cannot grow without having some discomfort, some change, whatever that might be. And that, again, this is the first steps in how we make a change in our lives. We first acknowledge where we're at right now and what our fight and flight is. And then we understand that pushing out of that creates anxiety. And that's the reason then becomes the challenge. Why don't we really want to make a change? Because it could be sometimes painful and cause emotional or physical discomfort. And boom, we realize, but pain is not always negative because sometimes healthy pain or good pain, working out kind of pain, that kind of thing, growth pain, that has a very positive outcome to it. So again, we're understanding that we have a lot more influence in how our lives move forward. And we're going to continue this arc so you can understand what it really takes to make a transformation, a real change within your life. If we haven't met before, my name is Rick Senninger. I'm the founder of TIP Hypnosis, Transforming Individual Performance, and the developer of the PIP method. We do everything by practicing intelligent, inspirational, and intuitive thinking, the 3 I's. And we'll be talking to you soon. In the meantime, I hope everyone here has a great week, and I appreciate you taking the time in sharing this evening with me. And for those who are going to see it in the future, I hope that it serves you well. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to call or to send me an email. I will, in fact, respond to you. In the meantime,